The NFL just handed out a suspension that may be a little bit worrisome for Rashee Rice, for Jordan Addison. We'll talk about it, but of course, first thing is we better get in a draft here, okay? There are so many tournaments on Underdog at the moment. I think the first one that we are going to do will be BBM, Best Ball Mania 5, largest tournament on Underdog Fantasy, largest tournament in the freaking world. It's a $25 buy-in, $15 million prize pool, $1.5 million for first. I mean, top 20 places are getting at least $100K, which I wish that was the case whenever I got 16th place a couple of years ago. Back then, it was only $10,000 because the payout structure was a little more top heavy. Love this new payout structure. I'm not getting 16th, though. I'm getting first. And yeah, let's move this around. We're going to be picking at the 4 spot, but we have a lot to talk about here. Thank you so much for everybody coming out. Hope that you had a great week. Hope that you are ready to be back to the regular scheduled programming of us in the studio. It was a really successful Flock week. We had a ton of people coming down to Austin, recorded a ton of content with everybody. Obviously, over the past few nights on the live streams, I really haven't been able to talk to y'all as much just because I have been talking with the guests that we've been bringing on the streams. But we are back. Excited to talk to you. Excited to dive deep in these drafts, and this is underway. I will say there's a $500 underdog draft that I'm in right now that I'm selecting at 5, and I actually had CeeDee Lamb make it to us there. So really interesting. We'll see what happens in this one, but the closer we get to the start of the year, the crazier these drafts are getting, where it's like back when we were in May and June, almost every draft board kind of looked the same. Now, on the other hand, they are just wildly, wildly different. A CMC off the board, but let's go ahead and let's talk about what's going on here. So, Zay Jones got suspended. Zay Jones gets suspended 5 games. Now, what is significant about this, at least in my mind, is the NFL went out there and, oh my gosh, Jamar Chase at pick 2. We are going to get a strong value here at pick 4. This is what I'm talking about right now. This is what I am referencing. These drafts are getting wild. They're very hard to predict. Jamar Chase goes before Tyreek Hill. I actually, in the Flock League draft, got Jamar Chase at pick 7, which I'm freaking pumped about. But regardless, we're going to go ahead. We will take Tyreek Hill here. Now, looking at Zay Jones, this is a wide receiver that, yes, gets suspended 5 games. Were you drafting Zay Jones? Hopefully not. I honestly, his suspension in itself doesn't make a difference for the Arizona Cardinals. I'm not moving Kyler down. I'm not moving Harrison up. Maybe I move Michael Wilson up just a bit. But the thing is, Michael Wilson's a wide receiver that doesn't matter at all from a redraft perspective, right? If you're in an ESPN draft with your buddies, there's no reason for you to ever consider Michael Wilson. He doesn't have the upside to make a true difference. Obviously, Underdog, very different. You can take him late. He turns out to be a wide receiver 3. You're printing money, but that's besides the point. What's very interesting with the Zay Jones situation is, like I discussed, this wasn't a spot where they let the courts play out. They did their own private investigation. They went out of their way. They suspended Zay Jones. And I am just getting a little bit worried that a lot of the conversation around Rashee Rice, a lot of the conversation around Jordan Addison, where, oh, these guys won't see their suspension this year. They're going to kick the can down the road. It's going to be in 2025, not 2024. I'm just a little concerned that they may be getting suspended in 2025. Just a bit. Not going to overreact a ton now with Rashee Rice. I haven't drafted a ton of them. I think his price point on Underdog now is a little too rich for me. Jordan Addison, I have drafted a lot of, so it is interesting. But Thomas says, if I use code FLOCK on Underdog, do I still need to buy a subscription to view the draft guide? If you use code FLOCK on Underdog in 2024, made a $10 deposit, my friend, you should receive an email which will give you 3 separate things. It will give you a link to a Google Sheet that will be the 2024 consensus ADP, where with that 2024 consensus ADP, you can use it as a cheat sheet in your draft, and it should be a very easy thing to take. You should also get a PDF to download from that email, And with that PDF, that is the draft guide. There are actually 2 separate file attachments. The draft guide's hundreds of pages, way too big to fit in one specific thing. So yes, you'll have the PDF of the draft guide. You will have the Google Sheet, and you have a link to flockfantasy.com giving you a trial with free access. So you don't have to go to flockfantasy.com. You don't have to sign up for a free access trial. You can 100% just download the PDF. You can 100% just click the link on the Google Sheet and you're in right away if that's all you want to do. I would probably recommend just going over to flockfantasy.com, claiming your free access, and checking out all the cool stuff that we have over there. But yeah, of course, and if you don't know how to do that, ladies and gentlemen, we are drafting every night on Underdog Fantasy, right? These are best ball drafts, so there's no time commitment at all during the season. So I draft hundreds of teams every year. So I won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. And if you want all that stuff sent to your email address, the email address that you signed up to Underdog with, all you got to do, sign up with the link in the description, comment section, live chat, use code FLOCK, and they're going to match your first deposit $1. They're going to match your first deposit up to $1,000. Plus, you are going to get my 2024 rankings, draft guide, cheat sheet, and all of that will be updated every single Sunday for you until the season starts. You'll get an email from yours truly. And also, of course, you will get a Christian McCaffrey special pick 'em more than less than half total yard. Underdog hooked everybody up that uses code FLOCK with that. You do need to be in one of these states, however, if you want to play on Underdog Fantasy, so you can see the map there. But like I said, by far and away, my favorite place to play. We're live streaming these drafts every single night till the season starts. I would love to get in a draft and draft against you. But anyway, Teresa, happy to see you. Really wish you could have made it to the meetup. I know Louisiana's far, so don't worry about it though. But let's move this over. So HN makes it down to the Tyreek team. I am actually going to go ahead and take Olave and mix it up here. I think that there's a chance that we get Kyron Williams on the way back around at pick 28. For the love of God, do not take Chris Olave here in your regular redraft league. And your regular redraft league, go Kyron Williams, go with Devon Achane. This specifically is for Underdog, where wide receivers are very hard to come by. Charlie, happy to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Benny, welcome to being a member of the flock. Happy to see you as well. But let's move this over. And real quick, I do want to address something. I understand that super chats are off. I talked to some people at the meetup, and we brainstormed through it, and we agreed that the super chats kind of ruin the live drafts. So I'm probably not going to have super chats on. And to be completely honest with you, I'm probably not going to turn them on during the season either. We're still going to do live Q&As during the year, but everything's going to be run through flockfantasy.com. It's going to be a much better system. I've literally spent God knows how much money, God knows how much time for years now developing this for it to go live right before the season this year. So yeah, probably no more super chats on this channel. Of course, that's something we can dive into a little bit further on. But for the live Q&As during the season, we built out something a lot better. And at the same time, for super chats during the offseason, during these drafts, just takes away from the draft. It's harder for me to look at the board. It's harder for me to just talk about what's going on. And so, yeah, I'd rather focus it on that, because if I answer a super chat, and this is what we were talking about at the meetup yesterday, if I answer a super chat, I'm helping out one person, right, answering their question. But the 1,000 people watching the draft, they're kind of getting screwed because it's not relevant for them. So we'll still do the live Q&As during the year on flockfantasy.com. But for now, I think that we're just probably going to stick to the drafts. And yeah, just like what we talked about previously with the expectation that we were going to get Kyron Williams making it back to us in round 3. This is my first rodeo drafting on Underdog, of course. Kind of have a feel for the board. I've told you all before, my favorite start on Underdog is to go wide receiver, Kyron Williams. I stand by that. Now, I will reiterate, specifically in your regular redraft league where running backs aren't going to fall as much, I'm completely fine with you going with Devon Achane there in the second and still taking Kyron Williams in the third. But specifically in these Underdog drafts, it's going to be a little bit tougher to do that. Okay. So let's move this over. DJ Moore off the board at pick 31. Ethan says, God, your hands. I mean, this is the freaking elephant in the room, right? Glad someone said it. I was sitting here thinking it all night, but thank you for addressing the obvious, my guy. Come on. Obviously joking. Yeah, it was funny in one of What we were doing, so just in case y'all don't know, we had the flock draft week. I'm sure y'all have seen the clips. I'm sure y'all have been watching the videos as of late, but flew down literally we had guys from Fantasyland guys from Australia, Fantasy Stock Exchange guys from Canada, the domain guys from Indy. We flew people from all across the world to Austin, Texas, specifically for flock draft week. And what we are doing for a large percentage of it was just reading your comments on each other's channels and laughing at them because they were making fun of us, of course. But one of the comments we were laughing about today was about me bullying the people in the video, which was pretty funny. But yeah, I hope y'all like the videos. I think we have a couple more coming out that are of that style where it's like the high quality. I hired a videographer for it. So, I mean, I really like it a lot. But, dear God, I just found out I wasn't sharing the chat. So, let me go ahead and let's figure out how to fix this. All right. Let's figure out how to fix this. This is what we're going to do. I'll just have the chat pulled up at all times. We'll have a little tiny over here. I wonder if I can make it transparent, but we'll figure it out. Okay. So Sam Laporta goes 38 to the Josh Allen team. It seems like a very common pairing to go Josh Allen, Sam Laporta. There at the 3-4 turn. It's something that I've done a ton, right? Because reasonably you get the QB1, you get the tight end one. And I think the wide receivers in that range aren't necessarily that exciting. Now, I will say, if you're looking at a unique pick in this draft, Rashee Rice goes at 33. And if you are drafting on Underdog specifically, where a lot of these drafts occurred in Best Ball Mania earlier in the offseason, where Rashee Rice was selected around 7, Rashee Rice was selected around 6, I would highly recommend not taking Rice there in the 3rd, just because even if Rice doesn't get suspended, even if Rice does go out there and crush, still at the same time, you're in a spot that you're going to be going up against another team in the tournament later on that took Rashee Rice in round 7, and you may just be, in a tough spot. But regardless, let's move this around. So we are about to be on the clock here. And Michael Pittman Jr. is falling. So Anthony Richardson played yesterday. Sounds like a lot of people were disappointed, to say the least, in what they saw from Anthony Richardson. Now, with that being said, if he would have fallen to us that far, I would have taken him. But shout out Derek. Saw him in the chat previously. Say, man, I miss this place. And you can see his little chat right there. But Derek, massive Chiefs guy, always wants his draft in Chiefs. We get Kelsey here at 45. There's a tiny chance that we are late enough in round 4 where Mahomes makes it to us in round 5. That tiny chance ends up not happening as we see Patrick Mahomes go off the board here at pick 46. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay. So let's move this over. And honestly, I don't necessarily know what we want here once we take Kelsey. Yeah, probably it would be best for us to get guys like McBride, Kincaid drafted. That way we are just in a spot that we get a wide receiver or running back that's falling to us at 52 instead. This may be a natural spot here at the 4-5 turn for a team to go Lamar Andrews, which obviously is something that I'm doing constantly. But let's move this over. What does this team do? I think this team may be on auto. They go George Pickens. Let me check what the Pickens ADP was. Pickens has an ADP of 48. So, yeah, Pickens was the highest ranked player according to ADP. What we may end up seeing here is we may end up seeing this team take Lamar Jackson. And if they do, we really need to make a mental note of that, because then it just guarantees that this is an auto-drafted team through the rest of this. So anytime that we're on the clock there, say like pick 76, we need to go, okay, well, however this is situated, or pick 69, I apologize. Yeah, pick 69, we know that the team at 72, 73, the two highest players according to ADP will be off the board. So if there's anybody in that range that we were wanting, we'd have to go ahead and we'd have to take them then. Nobody's going to fall to us coming on the out of the 6-7 turn, 8-9 turn, etc., etc. Okay, Worthy goes pick 51. Oh, dear God. I hate to do it. I hate to do it, but we're going to do it. Do not do this in your regular redraft league, for the love of God. And I've said for years on Underdog, do not be going bully tight ends. I mean, I can think back to years where people are going Travis Kelce round 1, Mark Andrews round 3. To go through and invest that kind of capital into the tight end position, even if you do lock up just all the points in the league at said position, it made no sense then. It probably doesn't make much sense now. I do think it will be a very unique combo. And if you were going to go bully tight ends, I think you could potentially, and I'm not saying you should, and I'm not saying it will happen, but you could potentially get away with it instead of having to take Kelce in round 1 and Andrews in round 3 as you used to. Now that they go at the 4-5 turn, this could potentially give us a unique outcome to get to the fantasy football playoff tournament with a low-owned Kelce or a low-owned Andrews. And if they just blow up and drop 20 points a game in that 3-week stretch, it could be exactly what you need to take it down. So I think that there are some very unique outcomes here. Is this ideal? No, the ideal situations probably we get Josh Jacobs falling to us at 52. But I will reiterate, I know this is something that we've said a ton with these elite tight ends this year at this cost. I think the elite tight ends this year at their respective cost can outscore the wide receivers going around them. Would I be surprised if Mark Andrews outscores Xavier Worthy, who goes the pick in front of him? No, I will not. Would I be surprised if Travis Kelce outscores Terry McLaurin? No, I will not. Would I be surprised if Dalton Kincaid outscores Calvin Ridley? No, I will not. So at these prices in particular, specifically on Underdog, in an Underdog tournament, I'm fine going ahead, taking 2 of the top guys. But I do want to reiterate, this is not something you're doing in a regular redraft league. But let's say I see A-Rod in the chat saying he loves the Kelce pick. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. See John out here. Okay, I can confirm. All right. John is a real person. John does live in Austin, Texas. Those are the 2 things I can confirm because he was at the meetup yesterday. But I can also confirm at the meetup, y'all know John said he takes 30 grams of creatine a day. I don't know if he has ever even sniffed creatine. I don't know if he's ever been in the same room as creatine, to be honest with you. Looking at the guy, I mean, if I was a doctor, I would recommend 35 grams of creatine a day just so we can, dear God, get something going. But let's move over real quick. Chris Godwin off the board at 65. Anthony Richardson is falling. There's a thing where everybody's sharing the clip of the commentator saying, oh, the Colts may have a tough decision to bench Anthony Richardson in favor of Joe Flacco this year. I wonder what they're going to – I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Anthony Richardson's in any danger of losing his job. I've always said I don't know if Anthony Richardson's going to be any good at the quarterback position. If you are convinced that he's some great quarterback, I don't know how. We just haven't seen really anything from him. But from a fantasy football perspective, we've seen these guys that can just be straight up buns, still be relevant in fantasy, such as Justin Fields, if they're going to go out there and have a ton of rushing upside. So I would have taken Anthony Richardson if he would have fallen. Now that he doesn't, this is about our last shot to get wide receiver. So we're going to go ahead, take Rome Odunze at pick 69. And with Rome, obviously, this has been a player that's been rising as of late, where we have seen Keenan Allen falling. And they're almost going to be flipped here. I mean, Danny from FSE was making a strong argument to have Rome ranked ahead of Keenan Allen, which I don't necessarily know if I can get there, but if you are trying to chase upside for weeks 15, 16, 17, Rome does have the top 10 draft capital. He was a top end prospect. He has shown well during training camp of the preseason. So I think it's exciting. Kellen Johnston saying, yo, Flock Fantasy, it was a pleasure seeing you at the meetup. Thank you for coming. Really nice talking with you. And yeah, thank you. Thank you. But yeah, and of course, thank you so much for everybody coming to the meetup. It was a ton of fun, ton of people there. Probably the best meetup we've ever had. No offense to anybody who's come to meetups in the past, but this time we actually were inside instead of at the park. We had drinks flowing. We had food getting served. It's real nice. Okay. Now, Christian Watson goes 72. I honestly probably prefer Christian Watson over Deontay Johnson at this point. I just don't see where the upside comes from with Deontay. I know he was in a bad offense last year. This is supposed to be a very bad offense this season yet again. I don't know. It's just difficult for me to be sold. Checking in on the Niners preseason game, Deebo Samuel with an incredible grab. Okay. Keon Coleman goes 74. Let's move this over. JSN and Kamara both available. I think we're going to go Kamara. We have Olave. I was like the only person at the draft week this year that wasn't all in on Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm sure y'all saw in the live streams, right, that whenever we were drafting with other guys, every single time we were there at the end of the sixth, I was like, oh, who do you want? Didn't matter who was on with me. Their answer to that question was, oh, JSN. So, I mean, a lot of people really like him. I loved him as a prospect last year. It's just very difficult to go through and blame everything on the offensive coordinator and saying now that the offensive coordinator has changed, now we're going to see more 3 wide receiver personnel. 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers on the field. I don't know if I buy it. It's an interesting story. It's one that you've heard 1,000 times. Everybody has said it 1,000 times as if it is just the God's honest truth, as if it's just, pure math, pure physics. And in reality, it's speculation. It may be very well-based speculation. Maybe it's correct speculation. But that's what it is at the end of the day. Okay. So let's go. Jameson off the board at 82. Najee Harris goes 83. I really want to show you all this team here. Team at 11 has Puka Nacua. Then after that, Gibbs, Allen, Laporta, White, Mixon, Najee. Now, if you were drafting on the Yahoo, ESPN, you're good to go, right? Because you're going to be able to find wide receivers that you like later. And honestly, it's a phenomenal team. Specifically on Underdog, it's going to be incredibly different, where wide receivers are extremely hard to find later. So we'll see if this team can do it. They go ahead and they take DeAndre Swift. They have 1 receiver through the first 8 rounds. Well, we'll see how this plays out for them. We will see how this plays out for them. Okay. And real quick, can you please let me know in the chat, do you like seeing the chat on the screen? Can you read it? Does it make a difference? Let me see on my phone if this looks like anything. Let me know in the chat. Do you like it? Yes or no? Just please spam the chat. Yes or no? Okay. We got a couple no's, couple likes. I like it. Okay. Teresa says no. So if Teresa says no, we will go ahead and we will shut this off. And let me see if I can just find a way to, you know what? Maybe I can fix this. Ooh. Oh, I thought I just broke the stream. Let's see. Are we back to normal? We are back to normal. Back to normal here. We are on the clock. I am going to go ahead and take Raheem Mostert. I think you can make a strong argument in favor of going with DeAndre Hopkins over Mostert. Just to be honest with you, in this specific draft here, where we saw that team at 11 take Puka as their only wide receiver through the first 8 rounds, I'm very scary of, I don't know, this team continuing to go crazy. And all of a sudden, wide receivers are just actually easier to come by and running backs harder to come by than what you typically assume in an underdog draft. But let's move this over. Zach asking how we are feeling about Travis Etienne. With Etienne, I think that his underdog price, extremely reasonable. Getting him in the middle of round 4 makes a ton of sense. You look at what he did a year ago. This is a running back that was a mid RB1, and nothing has changed about his situation. Now, where I see him going in a redraft leagues, I see Travis Etienne as a round 2 pick. Obviously, in redraft, I understand he's going to be more valuable than he would be, say, in an underdog draft. But what I personally would prefer is I would probably prefer instead to go ahead and take, like, real quick, we're going to go Jonathan Brooks. I know we're underweight wide receiver, but I think potentially, specifically in this draft, wide receivers may be easier to come by with that team at pick 11 going nuts, only having Puka Nacua through the first 8 rounds. But yeah, in your regular redraft league, if I could get Travis Etienne in round 3, I'd be very excited about it. The thing is, he goes in round 2 right now, which is just a little bit tough. Ethan says, do you buy into the Carson Steele hype? Not particularly, but I didn't buy into the Isaiah Pacheco hype, so there's no reason you should listen to me there. Taylor says, I missed the Q&A already. Please let me know how I can get those updated rankings again. Please, sir. Drafting Sunday, a live Q&A won my first 2 championships last year. Congrats, both on that and also looking like a freaking beast in your profile pic. Yeah, if you're looking for updated rankings, I haven't updated them in, I want to say, 3 days on flockfantasy.com, but after this live stream, I will update them. I was just so busy with the draft week, I wasn't able to pull up the site very often. But I'll update them on flockfantasy.com. Of course, if you use code FLOCK on Underdog in 2024 and made that $10 deposit, then you will get the email on Sunday with the new draft guide and the new rankings. But if you're on flockfantasy.com right now, my guy, you should be able to see it. Hopefully tonight after the stream, depending on how late we stream. The very worst case scenario, it would be tomorrow. But the team at 11 decides to go ahead and take Joshua Palmer. Okay. Charlie says, hey, Mason, can I still get access to your full redraft guide by signing up to Underdog with code FLOCK and DMing you on the group? You don't have to DM me at all. It will go to the email address that you sign up to Underdog with. You just have to give it a little bit of time. Underdog will get you that email out. As long as you use code FLOCK on an account in 2024. It can't be an account you made in 2023. An account you made in 2024 made a $10 deposit with code FLOCK. Cheeky Hobson was at the meetup yesterday, says, was truly a pleasure meeting with all the creators and developers. They're so down to earth and we're so enthusiastic to talk about fantasy football and life in general. Shout out Cheeky Hobson. Cheeky Hobson and JN currently are the leaders in most Flock meetup showings. I think they're both tied at 3, unless I'm mistaken. Which, always nice to catch up with you. Thank you so much for making the trip down, my guy. CPW, welcome to being a member of the Flock. Welcome. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. But let's go ahead. A-Rod says, well, I've seen all I need to see. Jordan Mason will be drafted in the 17th and 18th of all my drafts going forward. Can you please let me know, is Mason the guy behind CMC? I know obviously they're playing right now. But for the love of God, let me know if there's any news on that front, which I'm assuming you're saying so based off that message. Because obviously that's incredibly important here. And I will say I've drafted 0. And when I say 0, I mean 0. Elijah Mitchell, which makes up for the fact that I was drafting Elijah Mitchell last year or 2 years ago. I think maybe last year. We'll go ahead. We will take Tyler Lockett here. We need a receiver. If you look at Purdy doesn't do much for this team. We don't have any Niners. Lockett has been someone that's falling down draft boards a considerable amount with his injury. I mean, Lockett is pretty much going in some high-stakes drafts I'm in right now, 10 to 15 picks behind ADP consistently. So here only getting him 2 picks behind ADP doesn't feel great. Okay. But Jordan Mason just scored. Looks great. Okay. Let's look at it. Okay. Now, Ford goes 120. Frymuth goes 121. Okay, looking at what we can do here at quarterback. Obviously, Tua's in play. We're kind of in on this Miami offense with the combo of Tyreek and Mostert. Looking at where Waddle is. Where did Waddle go in this draft? Waddle's on the other side of the board, so if we wanted Tua, we'd kind of have to take him here, which I think we'll probably do. I think we can go ahead and take Tua. Unless you wanted to go Lawrence and Gabe Davis later. But we're not going to mess with it. I mean, Tua was at the top of the NFL in passing yards per game last season. While, yes, he wasn't elite in fantasy because he will not run the ball at all. We're not taking him at a price where he needs to be elite in fantasy. We're taking him at a price where we need to have some pretty big spike weeks from the Dolphins when it matters. And obviously, when we wait this long for our QB1 on Underdog, we're going to be drafting 2 more of these guys. Okay. Voodoo says Jordan Mason is the clear RB2. Elijah is done. Jonathan says, is Mason a good handcuff in managed redraft leagues? The thing about Mason is he does have an elite name. So you got to give him credit for that. If you don't know, Mason means hard worker. You learn something new every day. Realistically, if CMC were to go down, I don't know if Jordan Mason turns into a 3-down back. I don't think he is that good. Obviously, it's about the best situation you could ever hope for. So in Underdog, 100%. If he's the guy behind CMC, he needs to be drafted in every single draft. He needs to be going in rounds. He probably needs to move up a couple rounds. If you knew 100% he is the guy behind CMC. The issue in your shallow managed week-to-week leagues is the ceiling may not necessarily be there for him. Where even if you were to see a McCaffrey injury, it could be a situation in which all of a sudden it turns into a split backfield. Which, for you to roster Jordan Mason in the hopes of a Christian McCaffrey injury, and then in the hopes of him taking a large percentage of said backfield and being startable, it probably doesn't make sense in that shallow redraft league. But obviously, like we discussed, one thing I do like about Underdog is those deeper guys actually matter. I can't just say, oh, well, check out your waiver wire and put them on your watch list. Okay. Tommy says, would anyone do an auction draft if Underdog offered? Obviously, I have no say in what Underdog offers. I have no insight on what Underdog would or would not do. But if I was Underdog, I would never offer an auction draft. Auction drafts, I know in theory they are more fun. And in certain situations, they are more fun as well. The issue is the onboarding for an auction draft and the time commitment for an auction draft is 10 times more than just a regular fantasy football draft. Because if you think of a regular fantasy football draft, a regular draft, you need to log on and be on there for about 30 to 40 minutes. You can queue up your guys. You can leave the room. You can be doing the dishes and drafting. You can be watching TV and drafting. I draft the gym a bunch. You can be lifting weights and drafting. You can just kind of get a little buzz and go, okay, let me see who I'm going to pick. For an auction, you need to be glued to your screen for hours on hours. You can't look at it. You can't do something else. You can't go in another room. As if the player gets nominated and all of a sudden you're not there to bid on him, like that, you essentially just miss out on that opportunity. So I think an auction draft can be better if you are just like in one league, all you and your buddies are like getting in one place, doing it in person, and you're saying, hey, we're going to make an entire day out of this. This is going to be our day from 4 p.m. through 10, and y'all love fantasy football, go for an auction. But for 99% of people, a draft makes way more sense than an auction. And if you're not a good drafter either, you can still kind of get by. I mean, y'all see me do it every night. I'm not any good. I get by. I get lucky every once in a while. The best players are typically sitting at the top of ADP. Whereas if you're in an auction, for someone that isn't like 100% diehard fantasy football and knows every little detail and every little thing that they're doing, they have no shot, right? Like somebody realistically that's not like super diehard fantasy football, they can go on Underdog, they can draft a team, they can have fun, and they have a shot to win something. If there was an auction, they have literally zero chance. So I don't know. There's a little time period where I was a fan of auctions, but logistically, they just don't really make as much sense as just a fantasy football draft. Okay. Now, smooth this over. We're going to take Justin Herbert, pick 148. With Herbert, falling quarterback, obviously, it's not good that he was injured with the new coaching staff coming in. We would rather Herbert have time with the coaching staff, have time with the new receivers. It's not the best case scenario. But with that being said, where does Justin Herbert go in this draft? In terms of just raw quarterback rankings. You have Allen, Hurts, Mahomes, Lamar, Richardson, Kyler, Stroud, Love, Burrow, Dak, Daniels, Caleb, Purdy, Tua, Lawrence, Goff, Cousins. We're getting Herbert at like QB 18. And I don't know if you know this, but he does have one of the best receivers in the NFL on his squad that's actually available later. I don't want to say his name because I'm not trying to get sniped. But yeah, I mean, it's just the biggest value in drafts, a player that's on the path, on the road to turn into an all-pro, literally be available to us 3 rounds to pair up with Justin Herbert. It'll be beautiful. Okay. Michael, there is no news on the CeeDee Lamb holdout. Sadly. Kiddo Moore giving it away. Big Q. Most people don't know who Big Q is. Okay. John says Bo Nix next Peyton Manning. It is funny. Obviously, there's been a ton of Bo Nix hype as of late because he looked good in the preseason. I will tell you, my bet is Drake May will have a significantly better career than Bo Nix. I don't even think it'll be close. Like, please spam the chat. Who do you think will have a better career, Bo Nix or Drake May? Please spam the chat. Spam the chat. Okay. We got Nix, May, Nix. See, in my mind, there should be like no Bo Nix is here. May, Nix, May. Penix, Lance. May. Nix. Yeah, like, it's crazy that this is split 50-50 because of training camp and preseason. Okay, so looking at this, sadly, every single one of these Colts is falling 20 picks past ADP. I mean, obviously, Pittman fell like 10 picks past ADP, but Downs and A.D. Mitchell fall both like 20 picks. We'll go Thielen. Thielen does give us the option to go with Bryce Young. Hashtag keep pounding. There's a lot of Bucky Irving hype as of late. I think Rachaad White's significantly better than Bucky Irving. I think Rachaad White pretty much gets a 3-down workload there. It's what we saw a year ago. I know he was super inefficient, blah, blah, blah. I know he's not that good, blah, 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 but I don't think Bucky Irving is either. It'd be very different if Tampa drafted Jonathan Brooks, I think Rachaad White would be borderline undraftable. Like, bye-bye forever, Rachaad White. But if they go out there and draft Bucky Irving, I just legitimately don't even think it matters. Okay. Wandale off 168. Let's move this over. Tanner says, 976 people liking. We should have at least 500 likes. It's free and helps the stream. Yes, if you have not done so, hit that like button. If we hit 300 likes on this stream, we will get another draft going after this. So if you want to see another draft, go down there. Hit that like button. Okay, we can't take a tight end. We are exclusively quarterback, running back, receiver. Baker doesn't really make sense for our team here, considering the fact that we have no Bucks. Am I missing something here? No, I'm not. Never mind. McMillan goes, we don't have the Rodgers stack, but we get Rodgers at pick 172. I think that we are just going to end up getting so many raw points here. He can help us maybe advance a unique combo to the actual playoff tournament. So I'm going to take Rodgers at 172. And we can still take Malachi Corley later in this draft as well. So to go through, let me show this real quick. I do want to reiterate, this is a team that I would never draft in a regular redraft league. This is specifically for best ball. But wide receiver, we have Tyreek, Olave, Rome, Lockett, Darnell Mooney, Adam Thielen. Running back, we have Kyron Williams, Alvin Kamara, Raheem Mostert, Jonathan Brooks. We go bully tight ends. Do not do this in your regular league. Probably don't even do this on Underdog. It's probably a mistake, but I'm willing to roll the dice. We have Kelsey and Andrews. Quarterback, we have Tua stacked up with Tyreek. Mostert's also on the squad. We have Herbert with an incoming Big Q. Are you freaking kidding me? Big Q was taken from us. So we may end up having to go with instead DJ Chark, Brennan Rice, one of those guys. And then with Rodgers, we can be looking at Malachi Corley. Potentially. Duran asking why there are no super chats. Yeah, there aren't going to be any more super chats. Honestly, maybe ever. Reason being is I just think in terms of, like, obviously I really do appreciate everybody sending super chats. Like, obviously, I mean, it's the craziest thing in the world that anybody would be willing to give me $5 to ask a fantasy football question. Like, crazy in my mind that that's even a thing. But if like 1,000 people are watching this and someone like pays $5 for me to talk about their fantasy football team, it's good for that one person, but it probably hurts the other 999. So during the offseason, I think we're just going to do the drafts, and I'll just hang out, talk with the chat. Of course, if you want a roster review, you can go get it on flockfantasy.com if you would like. But during the season, when we do the live Q&A streams, I don't think we're going to do super chats either. We built out a ton of cool stuff on flockfantasy.com, where you should be able to go through and you should be able to like purchase roster reviews there. I'll be able to show your team actually on the live stream rather than just pulling up in a little bubble. You can submit a start sit question through flockfantasy.com. I'll be able to actually go through and fill it in, look at all your league settings, etc. And same thing with the trade question. I can go through and I can not only see your roster, but also the other person's roster. And I can tell you which side I'd rather have and potentially come up with a counter for you as well. So super chats are probably off forever. I don't want to, I'm not setting that in stone, but it's probably going to be the thing. Okay. Bryn asking when I'm doing your roster review. So if you've gotten a roster review on flockfantasy.com, I will be completely honest. I have not had a chance to look at it all week. Just because we were doing the Flock Draft Week, I'm sure you saw like a video lately. We had everybody fly down to Austin. I've been hosting everything. So I just haven't had a free second. After this live stream tonight, I'll probably be running through some team reviews. And we probably will be updating the rankings on the side as well. But here, I think we can go ahead and take Bucky Irving. We already have a rookie running back in Jonathan Brooks. And as we mentioned previously, I do think that Rachaad White, more likely than not, is the 3-down bell cow here. But Bucky Irving did catch the ball in college. He is the clear RB2 in the backfield. I don't know if he has a crazy high ceiling specifically because of his size. And in your regular redraft league, I definitely would avoid him. Like, there's no reason to draft him. But here, pick 189. I think it's okay. I think we can do it. And we're probably going to go wide receiver. So the plan was to go Malachi Corley to pair up with Rodgers. Pretty much in every draft now, I see Malachi Corley going in round 17. So it does kind of suck here when he goes in round 16 at pick 190. In terms of the last two receivers we're going to take, I definitely want one of them to be a Charger, whether that's DJ Chark or Brendan Rice. I think DJ is probably the better receiver, but he's also been drafted in a ton of these drafts on Underdog, where Rice will be very rarely drafted, so it'll be more of a unique combo. So what we may do instead is we may end up taking Luke McCaffrey. The report on him is not positive, but you have the Dotson trade. He should be a little bit of a unique pick. And then I think we're also going to just queue up some of these Chargers receivers, such as DJ Chark, Brandon Rice. If we don't get them, then we can queue up some of these other randos. But let me get these guys in here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to hop in another draft. I think this next draft we're going to do, maybe the $100 big dog. This is the last draft I can get in. I think this is, no, not the big dog. I'm sorry. The big eliminator. This is the last big eliminator I can get in. This is a $100 buy-in. There is room for 5 people in this big eliminator draft if anybody wanted to join with us. Like I said, this is a $100 buy-in. This is a $250,000 prize pool. First place is $50,000. Second place is $20,000. Third through sixth, $10,000. Seventh through 12th is $5,000. And what's very interesting about this tournament is look at these numbers here. This is what I want you to focus in on. So this is going to be the advanced structure of this tournament through the entire season, week by week. So in week 1, which you'll see with that first little 10 out of 12, you're going to be in your 12-team league that you drafted with, and 10 out of the 12 teams in that league are going to go through and advance to week 2. And then you are going to be in week 2 in a 10-team league. And in that 10-team league, 8 out of 10 of your teams are going to advance to week 3. And then in week 3, you're going to be in an 8-team league. There's 8 people left over. And then in that 8-person league, 6 out of 8 are going to advance to round 4. And that happens every single week until the end of the season, where there are only 2 teams left for the Fantasy Football Championship in week 17. So this is a very different draft, and it's not about trying to go ahead and have the highest ceiling you can possibly get in weeks 15, 16, 17. And instead, it's more about trying to chase the highest floor where you're not going to put yourself in a situation that you, get bounced week 1 because you have Nick Chubb, Jonathan Brooks, and then later in the season, they turn out to be top 5 running backs. Like, even if they turn out to be top 5 running backs later in the season, if you got bounced in week 1, it just simply won't matter. Now, CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey off the board 1 and 2. Tyreek Hill goes to pick 3. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take St. Brown at 4. I think St. Brown just has a little bit of a safer floor than what you're going to see with Chase and Jefferson. And yeah, in the flock league that we did as well, you actually saw Amon-Ra St. Brown go off the board at pick 4. That was a full PPR format, whereas Underdog is a half PPR league. But yeah, in that full PPR format, the flock league, I did end up getting Jamar Chase instead at pick 7, which I was very happy about. I went Chase, Nico, Devonta Smith, because it was a full PPR format where you can start 2 wide receivers and 2 flex spots. So I started off Chase, Nico, Devonta Smith, Sam Laporta. Okay. Now, Nick in this draft with us at pick 1. Let's go. I am happy that you are out here with us, my man. Pazik says, how do you control so many teams? So just to explain a little bit what best ball is on Underdog, and this is best ball on every platform, but not typically, 100% of the time, what best ball is I'm going to draft this team right here, and I am never going to have to do any weekly management. There's no waiver wire. There are no free agent add and drops. That's why you have to go so deep. That's why we have disgusting players at the end of the draft getting selected in every single one, guys that you would never consider in your regular redraft league. So you don't have to make any waiver wire moves. There are no trades in these leagues. And your best starting lineup is automatically submitted for you at the end of every single week. So there's no time commitment at all during the regular season. All it is you do the draft. You can check in, see how your teams are doing through the course of the year. But what I really like about Underdog is you can practice with these drafts. And then for your main fantasy football league you care most about, you've already been in real money drafts, but you're not having to take time and manage them during the year, so you can focus it on the league that you care about most. So that's how I'm able to draft hundreds of teams here every year. So I won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago, and I'm going to be doing this every single night till the season starts, of course. So if you want to hop in a draft with us, you can find that link in the description, in the comment section, in the live chat. If you use code FLOCK, you are going to get my 2024 rankings, my 2024 fantasy football draft guide, my 2024 ADP consensus cheat sheet. Plus, you will also get hooked up with a Christian McCaffrey special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard for week 1, and a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. You just need to make sure that you are in one of these states here, ladies and gentlemen. So you can see, good news is it is available in pretty much every state. It's in Texas, it's in Michigan, it's in Florida, it's in California. So yeah, you need to check them out. But real quick, you have A.J. Brown going at 10. Garrett Wilson sneaks himself to pick 9. What's funny is in that flock league, Corey from FSE went freaking nuts and took Garrett Wilson ahead of Justin Jefferson. Garrett Wilson went at 8. A.J. Brown went at 9. In the flock league, Jefferson made it down to 10. Okay. So let's move this over. We started off with Amon-Ra St. Brown in this draft. Going over to what we were talking about previously, this is one of those leagues where we are just trying not to ever have a bad week. I want to have a high floor. So typically how I approach these drafts is I like grabbing a couple top end wide receivers early. That way we can take a bunch of those high floor running back, maybe low ceiling options later, but we can just stack them on each other because we're not having to chase wide receiver later. So we're going to go ahead. We will take Waddle at pick 21. Judd asking, are we getting flock tourneys next week? Yes, there should be flock tournaments next week. There'll be flock tournaments on Underdog every Monday and Thursday until the season starts. Season doesn't start next Thursday. There's no way, right? No, season starts Thursday after. So we'll have another flock tournament this Monday, another flock tournament on Underdog next Thursday, and then another flock tournament on Underdog on Labor Day. So September 2nd. So yeah, there'll be a bunch of flock tournaments on Underdog again, my guy. Yeah, but they fill fast. They pretty much fill as soon as they drop. But that team at 3 decides to go ahead and take the elite level quarterback with Josh Allen. So it will be a pretty unique combo having Tyreek and Allen paired up together in this tourney. Kyron off the board. So the reason you're going to see Achane fall this far in drafts, specifically with the eliminator, is Achane's a running back that should give you massive spikes, but people are projecting Achane at the same time to possibly not have a super high floor. So that's why you're going to see him naturally fall, specifically in this tournament in comparison to other tournaments on Underdog. I'm willing to go ahead and take him. If Kyron was going to be there, then potentially we would have gone with Kyron Williams. This is like the only place ever, this one tournament, that I'm going to worry about stacking too many players on the same bye, because even if you have the best team ever, if you have 7 guys with the week 6 bye, then you just simply have no shot to win. Just because if you get to week 6 and you get bounced, doesn't matter how good your team was any other week. So we probably need to monitor the week 6 bye through the rest of this draft, but good news for us is I'm not too concerned about it. I think week 12, week 14, those are bye weeks that are a little bit tougher to deal with. But DK Metcalf off the board here. Okay. DJ Moore goes 33. It's surprising to see Devonta Smith make it this far. Can y'all please let me know? Will Smith be hurt by Dotson? My feel on Dotson going over to Philly is not particularly that it has any impact on Smith himself. Rather, the impact it has is on Dallas Goedert. Where Dotson will come in, they give the Eagles a viable third option in that receiving game that's not Goddard. But yeah, does it hurt Devonta Smith? Yes says, I don't think so. Diggs says Dotson is trash. Well, I mean, the Commanders think Dotson's trash for sure. Okay. Matt says, I'm a Washington fan, and he's kind of a scrub, but if he gets scripted targets to get him open, he's good. So my thing with Dotson and why I wasn't drafting him earlier this year is just super simple. They're literally one thing and one thing alone. The man averaged 0.9 yards per route run last year. He was at the very bottom of the NFL in yards per route run. Just one of the worst, if not the worst. So, I don't know. I was out on Dotson before, probably out now. Laporta makes it down to 41. I love that team at 8. That team at 8 is very interesting. Another thing is specifically in these eliminator contests, because points matter so much at the beginning of the year. Here, I'm a little less willing to take those guys that are suspension risk and a little less willing to take rookies that have upside near the end of the season. But Zay Flowers makes a lot of sense for our squad. The reason you see Zay Flowers falling in this tournament is he does share a bye week with a lot of guys. That week 14 bye is going to be something that people typically try to avoid, and you're going to see a lot of those players fall. But this is interesting to point out that this is back-to-back drafts now that we've done tonight, that Terry McLaurin has gone pretty early. McLaurin here going at pick 42. So the league that I'm going to care most about this year, to be completely honest with you, is that league that we drafted in person, the Flock League, that we'll be making all the videos and stuff for on that other channel. And that league, I took Terry McLaurin. I got Terry McLaurin in round 6. I thought it was a great price tag. It was a full PPR format. So I am going to be rooting for McLaurin so much this year. Even if I already know if Terry McLaurin crushes, I'm going to have 1,000 people screaming at me because I've said McLaurin is an overrated wide receiver for 4 years straight now. The team at 1 goes with the Lamar Andrews stack. There, I'm not as excited about the Lamar Andrews stack in this tournament where we're not really chasing these massive spike weeks, and instead we just want a baseline level floor. Okay, so let's move this around. Our bye weeks right now, we have 2 guys on the week 6, 1 guy on the week 5, and 1 on the week 14. And so both week 11 and week 12 could be fine here for us to pick 52. The team ahead of us only has 1 wide receiver in Tyreek Hill, so you'd assume that maybe they look to go back to wide receiver relatively soon. They go McBride. The team may be on auto. No, they took Josh Allen there at the 2-3 turn. Oh, dear God, what are we going to do? So Could go James Cook. I think that is what we'll do specifically in this tournament. If I was in Best Ball Mania where we are trying to chase some massive spike weeks, I think instead I go ahead, I take Dalton Kincaid and get the elite onesie position. But here in the eliminator contest, what I'm probably want to go ahead and take 3 tight ends and 3 quarterbacks. So grabbing the elite tight end doesn't do as much for me. Judd, my guy, says, if you maintain your opinion of Terry McLaurin, you will be right at some point. There are players I am wrong about all the time, and I'm willing to admit I'm an idiot. I get things wrong, and I point them out nonstop. But the one thing that I have gotten right for years now is calling Terry McLaurin an overrated player, where Terry McLaurin has never finished higher than the wide receiver 20 from a points per game perspective. Points per game. Don't pull up full season finish. Points per game. Has never finished higher than the wide receiver 20. And the man's about to be 29 years old as well. Taking a 29-year-old's wide receiver that you're hoping for a breakout, essentially, because he's never been a top 20 guy. Typically not a great idea. Please let me know if we have an issue with the mic, because this thing just, something just dropped, and we are in a tough spot. But yeah, I do want to reiterate. Like I said, I've actually drafted Terry McLaurin in a decent amount of, I guess, and by what I say with a decent amount of high stakes drafts this year. I take Terry McLaurin in a single $1,000 draft, and all of a sudden he's one of my most invested in 2 wide receivers, right? So I can go ahead and I can pull up my underdog exposures, and I can sort by entry fees. And at entry fees, Terry McLaurin is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. My 9th most invested into a receiver from a dollar perspective, but it's just because I took him in like $1,000 buy-in, because I only have him in 4% of drafts. So I only have him in 4% of drafts, but I have a lot of money in him this year. I have him in the league I care most about, as we already discussed. So I will be a Terry McLaurin fanboy this year. I am hoping that the Dotson trade actually does something. It probably won't, but I'm hoping it's good for him. We'll see. So Kyler off the board at 67. Kyler has for sure been a riser as of late. And Keenan's been a faller. I think Keenan is a great pick in this format. Yes, maybe somebody that has a little bit of a cap ceiling, but our objective is just to never be the worst team. And what I like about Keenan as well is he does have the unique bye. He does have the week 7 bye. So we'll go ahead. We will take him here at 69. That team with Tyreek Hill at pick 3 decides to continue to pass on wide receiver where they're only sitting with Tyreek Hill at the moment. Okay. Rome goes 72. The team at pick 2 decided to go 0 RB, take Najee Harris as their first running back at 71. Najee has been a big-time riser, of course, with the Jalen Warren injury. Okay, James Conner is actually my running back 1 in that flock league. Went with a little bit of a 0 RB build because of the league format, and specifically because I knew the people I was drafting against, they were going to let me get some pretty strong running back values later. So typically what we would say is if we were at this point is I would go, oh, okay, CJ Stroud not in play for us because we don't have a Houston Texan. But this is a league where we just don't want the horrible weeks. We just need to have some kind of baseline production through the course of the entire season. So going through and correlating the roster every chance we get, probably not great. I just want a baseline level of points in my lineup. I think CJ Stroud's going to give us just that. We are only having to go with a single bye week at the moment with the week 14 bye. So we'll go ahead and we'll take him here. But, and our board blue coming out with a little muscle sticker. Thank you. Thank you. Let's move this down. I actually really like this team in this draft. I think I am moving. I've already moved St. I think I've always had, from a redraft perspective, if you look at all my redraft rankings, St. Brown ahead of Jefferson. But I think I am moving St. Brown ahead of Chase as well. I think St. Brown probably at this point is my wide receiver 3. Just because Chase, with the contract situation not being there, whereas you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, all that stuff sorted out. He projects to be in the second highest scoring offense in the NFL this year. You have no Josh Reynolds. I'm just in on St. Brown. Okay. Now, Christian Watson makes it all the way down to pick 79. Watson, one of those guys that you can kind of make an argument that his fall is similar to the fall of Achane in this kind of format, where you'd assume that he is just going to give you those massive spikes, but also give you some really bad weeks at the same time. Okay. The running backs go. We just have such a well-balanced team that y'all know usually at this point I'm freaking stressing. I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, I really need a wide receiver. I really need a running back to fall to me. Honestly, here, when we're still chilling with St. Brown, Waddle, Flowers, Keenan at wide receiver, when we have Achane, James Cook at running back, when we have Stroud at quarterback, I think we are just fine. But Pazik says, Mason, have you ever played Madden? So whenever I was 12, what was the Drew Brees Madden cover? I think it was like Madden 2011. I'm pulling this up. I'll let you know what Madden I played. Yes, 2011. How did I know that? I played a ton of Madden 11. Back whenever I was 2011, I was like 13 years old. I was probably in 7th grade. Something like that. Played a lot of Madden then. Played with my little brother a couple times with newer Maddens. The newer Maddens, I didn't like the gameplay. Like I didn't like. I remember playing with them the year that they had like the superstar catchability where you throw the ball and you hit some button and the wide receiver pretty much like instantly caught it. I remember it being bad. Okay, so let's move this over. Hollywood Brown falling like a rock here. Hollywood, you have the double whammy. You have the injury, and at the same time, this is somebody that may just give you a ton of volatility. I may go Jameson. We have St. Brown. Oh, my gosh. We'll take Hollywood at 93. Y'all know Hollywood's one of my least drafted wide receivers this year. I thought Hollywood's price point when he's going at the 4-5 turn was absolutely ludicrous. Obviously, he should fall with the injury. With him falling this much, I'm fine just going through and picking him up, saying, what if I'm wrong? What if I am? The main concern I have is not only the injury, but also the fact that we are just picking up another week 6 bye. Jay Swangan says, what do you think about Zamir White? I think Zamir White is a running back that doesn't catch the ball in a bad offense. That was a day 3 NFL draft pick that has never proven that he is a good player. So I want to start there. Now, with that being said, to be fair to Zamir White, he does look like he is the starting running back for the Raiders. He projects to be the starter. What's his ceiling with that role? I don't know. He didn't catch the ball at Georgia. He hasn't got the ball in the NFL, but we'll see what happens here. Okay. Tony Pollard off the board at pick 98. Tresner says, oh, but London has. Well, we can talk about London. I am underweight Drake London. Like, I have drafted fewer Drake London teams than most people, I want to say. I can give you my London exposure, what it exactly is in 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and take Jordan Love. We don't have a Packers stack. I don't care specifically in the big eliminator. Like I said, our goal here is to raise our floor. It's to never get last, not necessarily ever try to get first. So we will take Jordan Love. But yeah, let me explain like the big difference between like when I say Zamir White has never proven that he's a good player versus Drake London never doing anything in fantasy. So first, let me tell you how much both I have. I have Drake London in 8% of drafts. So I'm right in line with just the market on London. I have Zamir White in 9% of drafts. So about the same as league market. But I think I can pretty confidently say all those things that we just regarded with Zamir White, that is a day 3 NFL draft pick that's never really shown anything at the NFL level, that didn't catch the ball in college, projects to be in a bad offense. I view all that as accurate. That doesn't mean he can't be good. We just haven't seen it before. Doesn't mean because he was a day 3 pick, he's guaranteed to be bad. Doesn't mean because he didn't catch the ball at Georgia, he won't catch the ball in Las Vegas. Maybe he can. But going back to the statement that we've never seen him be good versus Drake London, we've never seen Drake London be good from a fantasy football perspective. But from a real life perspective, if you look at Drake London with some of the worst quarterback play in the NFL last year, averaging 2.0 yards per route run, and above average yards per route run metric, that is very good. If you go back over the past 2 years and look at Drake London's target share in Atlanta, Drake London has dominated targets in comparison to the other wide receivers in that offense, indicating he has the ability to get open. He has the ability to draw targets. Very good. Drake London was, I believe, selected at pick number 10 overall in the NFL draft. A top 10 pick in the NFL draft, probably good. So you can look at, say, Zamir White, and obviously Drake London goes in round 2. Zamir White goes super late. I'm not trying to go here and say, oh, rank Drake London over Zamir. Obviously, I'm not doing that. I'm just referencing what y'all are talking about in the chat. If you look at Zamir, no pedigree, he's never really flashed anything in the NFL. His situation changes for the better, so he has upside but a really low floor. Drake London has a ton of pedigree, has given us flashes of his talent at the NFL level. His situation changes for a lot better, and that's why he's now getting drafted in round 2. Have you seen a single video of me calling Drake London a must-draft guy? No. I think Drake London's price point is pretty expensive. He was going in round 4. I would love it. In round 2, I'm not a big fan, but I completely get it. Like, I understand why it's happening, and I'm okay mixing him in and drafting him there. I'm not going to take a massive stance one way or another. Okay. Let's move this over. So right now, quarterback, we have Stroud and Love. Running back, we have Achane, James Cook. Wide receiver, we have St. Brown, Waddle, Flowers, Keenan, Hollywood. I actually really like this team. I really do. Now, in terms of bye weeks that we have to be thinking about, I want to say the week 6 bye probably something that we just can no longer look at. We have Waddle, we have Hollywood, we have Achane. We do need another running back. Singletary is another great example of one of these just gross guys that's going to get a lot of volume that maybe gives you a respectable floor from a week-to-week perspective, even if he doesn't have a crazy high ceiling. Like I discussed, we're not necessarily looking for that in this format. And we need a floor at running back when we're sitting only with James Cook and Devon Achane at the moment. Okay. Let's move this over. Shaheed goes off 118. But yeah, let's figure out where y'all think Drake London should be going. Because obviously, Drake London is one of the most polarizing players in fantasy football at the moment. Looking at London versus the other round 2 wide receivers, spam the chat. Would you rather have Drake London or Deebo Samuel? Drake London or Deebo Samuel, which way are you going with? One vote London. One vote Deebo. London, London, Debo, Debo. London, London, Debo, 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 Debo. London, Debo, 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 Debo. London, London, Debo, London. So it does look like most people are Debo over London. Let's move this over. I think I would have made the argument to go Dallas Goedert here if it wasn't for the Dotson trade. Now that that has happened, I'm a little bit less excited. Brandon Cooks does just give you the target share in a good offense. He has the week 7 bye. We're only having to deal with the week 7 bye with Keenan Allen at the moment. So we'll go ahead. We'll take him at pick 124. Do I love it? No. Do I love any of the other running backs here? No. Like I discussed, Nick Chubb is somebody that I'm just really not interested, specifically in this kind of format where we're not trying to chase the highest ceiling possible in weeks 15, 16, 17. And instead, we are trying to optimize to have the highest projectable floor both through the beginning of the season, the middle of the season, and the end of the season. Like a big difference in this tournament is points in week 1 matter a lot and arguably about as much as points in week 17. Okay. Robert says Xavier Worthy or Hollywood. I've had Worthy ranked over Hollywood all offseason, but now, especially with the Hollywood injury, you have to go Xavier Worthy. It's not even close. Okay. Gosh, and y'all can probably tell I am just tired. I mean, this has been one of the busier weeks of my life, especially my voice hurts from the meetup yesterday. The meetup yesterday, we were just standing in a loud bar screaming at each other, just screaming. Okay. Like, I'm surprised I didn't lose my voice. We walked out of the brewery, and I maybe tried talking to Thomas. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, your voice is gonna be gone." And usually I'm a little bit of a wimp. Usually I have to sleep like 8-9 hours a night. I sleep a lot. And over the past week for the Flock meetup, I wasn't sleeping at the Airbnb. I got everybody like a massive Airbnb where I think there were 11 people staying there. Maybe 10 people, but it was either I was going to have to make someone share the room with me, or I drove 10 minutes down the street to my own house. So every night at like 1, 2 a.m., I'd drive over to my house to go to sleep. Then I have to wake up, drive back at like 7:30. It's been tough. It's been tough. Okay. Now, Charbonnet. Rep the King says, production on the videos lately has been fire. Yeah, they're better than I could ever imagine. Shout out Zaming, videographer in Austin, Texas. If you need a videographer in Austin, Texas, shoot me a message. I'd love to connect you. He shot my girlfriend's short film, did a killer job. One hell of a tennis player, decent pickleball player. And they did a great job with our video. Super happy with it. So going back, week 6 bye, probably not in play. Chandler, Jalen Wright, not super excited about them in this range. We can look to go with a receiver. If we decided to go wide receiver, it probably would be our last. My favorite wide receiver in this range would more likely than not be Darnell Mooney, which I think is what we're going to do. I think with the suspension that you have for Zay Jones, you can make an argument for Michael Wilson kind of jumping up into this tier. Oh my gosh, Elijah Mitchell off 142 after the good, showing from Jordan Mason. Dear God. Not So Silent says, don't forget to use the giant Hulk chair for future interviews. It'll be fun. Yeah. That chair was pretty funny in the background. Quinn says, Mason, how much tennis do you play? Sadly, not much. Funny enough, shout out Zeming, like I said, the videographer of all the videos that were just recorded. He's been like one of the only people I've played tennis with over the past 4 years. I played tennis a ton. I was on the tennis team in high school. Obviously, I played tennis in middle school. But once I got to college, it's much harder. Like in downtown Austin, it was much harder to find a court. And also, I was probably just too lazy. I every time I go and play tennis, there's nothing more fun in the world for me. So I need to make time for it. I need to go and do it more often. But for whatever reason, I just don't. I mean, specifically for tennis too. Like you can't play tennis with somebody that's way better than you or way worse than you. Because then like if I play some tennis with someone who's way better than me, they're not going to have any fun. If I play tennis with someone who's way worse than me, I'm not going to have any fun. So that's why I've actually been playing a bunch of pickleball lately. Like Sal and I go play pickleball all the time. And that's fun because you can go play doubles with people. And even if they're way better than us or we're way better than them, pickleball, it's not the skill gap can't be as large as it can be in tennis. So it's a lot easier to just find random people to play with. So here, Jalen Wright not in play for us, we discussed, given this overall league format. I think we could go Jaleel if we really wanted to. I think that's what we're going to do based off his role, based off this specific structure. If we think Jaleel has a week-to-week role in this offense, and then upside for more if Javonte were to go down, and look at the range of outcomes for the tight ends that are on the board at the moment, they're probably comparable to some of the tight ends that we're going to be looking at later on. Might as well just go ahead and take Jaleel here. John says golf, then pickleball, then tennis. John, if you play pickleball, shoot me a message. I will be happy to play pickleball with you in Austin. And probably not anytime soon because the season starts 2 weeks, so I'm probably going to be working more over the next month than any other part of the year. But when the season starts dying down around October, November, I'm down to run some pickleball if you're any good. And yeah, golf, I've played golf just a few times. And my issue with golf is I'm just not good. And also I really like, I like moving. I like the action. Like y'all know, like I said, I did the Ironman this offseason. I really like running. I really like doing stuff like that. Golf, I didn't really feel like I was exercising at all. Or pickleball, I'll get a nice little sweat going. Yeah, later this year, let's go. You better be practicing. If I come out here and I goose egg you, it's gonna be nuts. Jake says, "What is the Badge Bros Brawl tournament? Just drafted an Olympics team." Yeah, I looked at the details just briefly. I think it's a 6-person tournament. So I'd imagine if it's a 6-person tournament, it should be. Every team should be freaking nuts. If you're just in 6-team drafts. Okay. Cooler Hand says, disc golf is the best in Austin I've had in a long time. I'm actually going to screenshot that you said this and send it to Nathan from Domain because we were literally talking earlier today and and of course, just in case y'all haven't realized by now, I am Austin, Texas. I'm one of their top salesmen. Like I freaking am, man. Austin stan. And so he asked how the disc golf was. And I had heard that it was really good. And I heard that I remember like I grew up like an hour and a half out of Austin. I remember friends in high school would literally go to Austin to play disc golf. So I just assumed it was really good. But I've never played disc golf. Okay. Musgrave off the board, 159. Would have been nice to have Musgrave making it back around to us to go ahead and just get our first tight ends. I think it's probably clear with this team, right? This is going to be a squad that we are not taking another wide receiver. We are rolling into the season with St. Brown, Waddle, Flowers, Keenan, Hollywood, Cooks, Mooney. And that'll be it. We are just going to be quarterback, running back, tight end through the rest of this. Sportus says the domain dude is a pro hazer. What does a pro hazer mean? What does hazer mean? Frank says 12-team flock golf fantasy tournament with other fantasy YouTubers. Winner determines the draft order. Y'all will see on the Flock League YouTube channel, we made a vlog, and to determine draft order, we played a game of knockout. I don't know if y'all know what knockout is, the basketball game where like two people are shooting, blah, blah, blah. And that was so much fun. I hadn't played knockout since like middle school. And Sal was in front of me. Of course, I immediately got him out. So he had last. He did not get to choose his pick. He just got whatever was left. He was the first one out. The editor of this channel, Thomas, freaking ended up winning. You'll see it. You'll see the vlog. I think you're gonna love it. It was so much fun. I'm so excited about that league. I'm so excited about that channel too. Okay. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Rodgers at 165. Doesn't share a bye with either Love or Stroud. And I think the combo of Stroud, Love, Rodgers with all unique buys will almost guarantee that we have enough quarterback production to get by from week to week perspective. I think we're in a good spot there. Okay. So what did we get clarification on what being a pro hazer means? John says, I got some hazing stories. My God, I've never been, I was never in anything where I got hazed. So I love hearing hazing stories. So if you got some good ones, let them rip. Let them rip. We are running back tight end through the rest of this. We are going to go ahead. We are going to take one more RB, and then we're going to take 3 tight ends. Our running backs will be Achane, James Cook, Singletary, Jaleel. So I really hope Achane takes the workload that some people are projecting him to. We'll see. I really need it for this team. In terms of a running back that make a lot of sense for us here, we can go ahead. We can take Marshawn Lloyd. Gives us the unique buy compared to our other RBs. Obviously, we shouldn't expect much production at the beginning of the season. But hopefully, near the end of the year, we should be in an okay spot. To have a unique-ish player come on. We have a bunch of old guys at the very top at running back, and it's a different buy than all our other players. So you can see here we're at pick 4. St. Brown, Waddle, Achane, Flowers, Cook, Keenan, Stroud, Hollywood, Love, Singletary, Cooks, Mooney, Jaleel, Rodgers, Lloyd. Jay Bird, happy to see you. Thank you for coming out, joining the flock. Cooler Hand says, Pike hazing is the worst, but I enjoyed the process. Let's see. Do we have any? Jake says, we had to protect a pineapple for a week. The older members of the frat found it while we were all at class, came back to our child dismembered, and had to do physical labor all night. Your child dismembered? You mean your pineapple dismembered? What does that mean? Frank says, what's the biggest takeaway you got from drafting with the other fantasy YouTubers? The biggest takeaway that I got is I'm the best fantasy football drafter on this planet. Other planets, I don't know. I haven't experienced that life. But on this planet, you're looking at the best here. I played them like a fiddle. Sportus says, hazing, initiation. Ooh, so you're saying what we need to do is we need to haze people who join Flock Fantasy. That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying. Legally, I will say out loud publicly right now, we will never haze anybody that joins Flock Fantasy. It is an interesting idea, but legally we'll never do that. Just get on the record here. All right. John says, just a few, sitting in a dark-ass room blindfolded for 12 plus hours with heavy metal. That is tough. Pleverages, having actives throw a bunch of random things in a blender and chugging it. Blindfolded and taken out into a field and had to make her way butt-ass naked. That is proof. The last one I've heard of before, I know my dad told me he had to do the last one in high school, but The first two, sitting in a dark room for 12 hours with music playing. If you don't know it's going to be 12 hours, that must just be hell. Because an hour 6, you're just sitting there going, oh my gosh, how much longer do I have to do this? That's brutal. Kellen says he's in a $10,000 league this year. You didn't tell me about that yesterday? Are you kidding me? Okay, so we are going to go ahead. We are going to take some tight ends here. Cade Otton is the absolute no-brainer tight end at this point. I mean, we just need someone that's going to get targeted. Otton should get targeted at the very beginning of the season. Ben Sinnott is probably not somebody that I'm that excited about here. Just because with Sinnott, you're kind of drafting him for his upside in weeks 15, 16, 17. Now, obviously, he is somebody that benefits in a big-time way based off what you have with the injury to Jahan Dotson. We'll see. We'll see. Prince says, Kellen, be sure you're the treasurer in that league and confiscate the money. Yeah, easy 110,000. Easy. I just like, if you're doing a $10,000 league with your buddies, I would just be so afraid of like the IRS. Like, you know, like whenever I like say I win 150,000 on Underdog sends me a tax form. Like he goes, hey, you got to pay taxes on your winnings. But I don't even know. Obviously, I'm sure an accountant will figure it out. But if you win 110,000 in fantasy, like just off buddies, if you're to be fair, if you're playing in a league where your fantasy football buy-in's $10,000, maybe at the end of the day, 110K is not that big of a deal for your taxes, but that's nuts. But Cooler Hand says, somebody in our frat went to jail for arson. That's all I'm going to say. Jake says, my favorite was during our hell week. Stay at the house and get hazed all week. We had to keep a candle burning nonstop or we got hazed. We snuck to a store after class and bought propane torches. That's really funny. Okay, so let's move this over. We are still just going to go through and slam some tight ends here. I think we probably go Chig. Issue is, looks like he may not just be getting everything as the tight end in Tennessee. But I don't know. Like, Parkinson, we already have a bunch of players on a week 6 bye. They're all about the same. Kellen says, it's with my hedge fund manager, friends, hoping I win it. Winner takes all, so 110K profit. Not so. Not so. And I will let you know, we are looking for an investor in Flock Fantasy. Last round, we were evaluated at $2 billion, but we are giving a friends and family discount for people who go to the meetup. Since you were at the meetup, to be honest, you can have 1% of the company for, we'll do $20 million. But that offer does expire within the next 48 hours. So please get your finances in order and have your lawyers meet mine. But yeah, use promo code MEETUP. Promo code MEETUP, my friend. Okay. Now, I think we're probably going to call the stream here. I'm very sorry. We had the meetup last night. I'm running off like 5 hours of sleep. I'm incredibly tired. I of course, am going to be streaming every single night these Underdog drafts. I mean, I'm drafting them all day off the live stream as well. Before the season ends, I'm going to be getting in a ton of these bad boys. So, of course, if you want to draft with me, you can find that link in the description, comment section, live chat. They're best ball, so no time commitment all during the year. It's how I draft hundreds of teams every year. It's how I won 150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. And yeah, if you use code FLOCK, you're going to get my 2024 rankings, my 2024 draft guide, 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Plus, you are also going to be getting a Christian McCaffrey special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard for week 1 against the Jets. So make sure you take advantage of that. You just need to be in one of these states if you want to draft on Underdog. See the map here. It is available in pretty much every state. Yes, in Texas. Yes, in California. Yes, in Florida. Yes, in New York. Yes, in Michigan. Whole 9 yards. But much love, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you. And really hope I get to see you tomorrow night.